Rayman. It was a platformer that looked pretty good, but didn't really have much else going for it. And Rayman 2, well, let's not mince words, it was probably my most hated 3D platformer of the era. And don't even get me started on the Rabbids. Gah. So where does Rayman get off at having a game as awesome as Rayman Origins? I don't know, but it's excellent, and that kind of annoys me. Now the story is Rayman and his friends are faffing about in the loudest way possible. They're so loud in fact that they've woken the dead. Now they have to go platform around and collect a bunch of things and hopefully save the day because of it. Alright, there is a little bit more story, but honestly the story wasn't really the focus of this game, I don't think. Seems to me that the focus was gameplay, and that's where this game excels. It's a standard 2D platformer with a heavy emphasis on both item collection, as you'd expect from a 2D platformer, but also a heavy emphasis on movement mechanics. Basically anything from your standard attacks and jumping can all be chained together to allow you to move faster through your environment. Now the trick with having a game focusing mainly on movement mechanics is having a world that works with these mechanics. Essentially you have to have a world that is very fluid to run through. It can't be very stop and start or it's just going to make the gameplay feel choppy. This game does it excellently. The only moments in gameplay where it felt like gameplay slowed down a little bit was with little side hidden areas which you have to go through if you want 100% the game. Aside from this, the levels flow very, very well, and it's really just a blast to run through the world as fast as possible, just sprinting full tilt and just not letting anything get in your way. And it's just a very smooth, very intuitive experience. Well done. Supporting the gameplay's favoring of movement mechanics is the fact that this game kind of plays like a remake of the original Rayman. Conceptually speaking anyway, in that you start off with very few abilities, but you slowly gain new abilities over time. And as you do, your range of movement mechanics becomes greater, and it becomes even more intuitive as to how you get around the world. And in this respect, the only difference between this and the original Rayman is the fact you don't have to wait 80% of the way through the game to learn how to run. Seriously, who thought that was a good idea? Anyone? No, of course not. That was one of the two biggest things that really hurt the original Rayman. But fortunately, people smartened up, and this game is fast, frantic, and fun. Now, in addition to running through the world full tilt, you also have to explore a little bit. In order to advance through the game, you have to collect Elatoons, like the original Rayman. Essentially these little pink guys with ponytails, for whatever reason. Two of which are hidden in the world, and you have to find them by going off the beaten path and searching every nook and cranny, and some of them are really well hidden. One of which is located at the end of the level, and freeing them signifies the level being cleared. Two of which are gained by collecting enough of the sub-collectibles, and the last one is available by winning a speedrunning challenge through the level. So yeah, if you want to collect all these things, you really have to learn every level well, but also you have to learn how to run a quick racing line through the level. You also have to understand each and every different ability you have in your arsenal to continue moving faster, which wouldn't have been possible if this game didn't flow properly. See? These guys knew what they were doing. Presentation-wise, this game is tremendous. Visually, it is just gorgeous to look at. All the different monsters, from the generic humanoids to the aggravated avians, everything here has a ton of personality. And it feels like it's definitely trying to capitalize on the original Rayman's look, where basically everything had eyeballs and everything in the environment, including the environment itself, was a character. And seeing as that was one of the biggest strengths of the original Rayman, it was smart of them to do so. The only thing I don't like about it is you have 4 characters to pick from, and they are all functionally the same, but they did the same thing that New Super Mario Bros. Does, where you've got the main character, Rayman, you've got the sidekick character, Glowblocks, and then you've got 2 generic characters who look the exact same. But in this case, it's Teensies instead of Toads. I like that you can get different skins for them, but with the exception of maybe Dark Rayman, the very last one you can unlock, they all feel the exact same. And the fact that 2 characters already look the same doesn't really help things all that much. Audio-wise is also very excellent though. It feels like the soundtrack itself is a character in this world. Almost sort of like some of the songs are being sung by like the Lums or something. I really dig that. The soundtrack in general is just very memorable, especially this song, which just sounds like a bunch of gurgling in the background. but audio-wise, it's excellent. And that's basically Rayman Origins in a nutshell. I'd like to think that this game is sort of analogous to this generation's Donkey Kong Country, in that it's an excellent, well-polished platformer that has a heavy emphasis on movement through this organic world, but also in the sense that it tries to reinvent a already established character and makes them greater than what they were. I mean, again, prior to this, I pretty much completely hated Rayman. Like, to my core. Have you ever played Rayman 2? That game sucked. And Rayman 1? Ugh, that was just a bunch of hidden arbitrary flags and walking through most of the game. No thank you. But this game's awesome. Now this is the point where I'd either recommend it or not. And I might actually surprise you, because I'm not gonna recommend this game. I know, shocker, right? Because, like, everything I've said to this point would tell you this is, like, one of the best games of the past generation, which it might very well be. But the fact is, this game has a sequel, and that normally isn't a very relevant thing, but in this case it kind of is. See, the sequel, Rayman Legends, actually has most of Rayman Origins available as hidden bonus in-game levels. You do well enough in that game, you can unlock some of the levels from this game in it. So it's like you kind of get this game plus a whole other game. Except it's slightly better polished and there's a lot more content in it. So yeah, if you can, get Rayman Legends. But if you can't, Rayman Origins is excellent. And this game might have me actually change my mind about Rayman. Maybe. A little bit.